Right, guys, we're let's check if we're live. Davla, see if we're all good to go, mate. If we're all good to go.
Yep. I was
Let's
just
have the countdown.
communicating with the Lozatron 5000, but I think we should be on.
Awesome. If you if you've joined us, guys, do drop a little comment. Do give us a little holler, and good to see who's on. Of course, Dave Rimington's always on here. He's always the first one to text.
Yep.
Now, cheers, Dave. Yeah, great to see you on. We'll wait a couple of minutes, let people sort of come on today. Who we got? Kim. Oh, hey, Kim. How you doing, mate? Debbie, Marky V. Of course, even EverTrek's on here.
Yep.
Which is always weird. Right, we got some more people joining us now. Mona, of course, Mona's on here. Mona, how are you? Great to see you on. Hope the move went well. Rachel, Richard. Right, we get some numbers now. Dave.
I don't think Rachel doesn't get any sleep. I don't think, because I think it's like mega early hours, isn't it, in Hawaii?
In Hawaii, yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Don't worry, guys. We've already said, "Are we live?" Don't worry about that. Clearly, they're all playing bingo again today, aren't they?
Yeah. You can't prompt the bingo caller to give you the right answer. You've got to wait for it to come naturally. Just as natural as a pair of Maindel Boutans feel when you slide them on.
Oh, very good.
See what I did there, Hand? See what I did?
I see what you did there. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
We've got a few more now. We've got Hillary, Simon, Paula, Jane. Great stuff. Yeah, we've got some numbers now. Let's have a little look. Awesome. Yeah, so welcome everyone. Got something a little bit different today. I know over the last few weeks we talked about equipment last week, which was really good. We had Video Steve. It was Good Morning Britain, but Trek in Style, which was great. We've gone quite deep over the last 6 to 8 weeks. Lots of different things, and something we haven't talked about. And I think it was reminded this weekend, Dave, wasn't it, in terms of why people are doing what we do. In terms of why do we do treks? Why do we put ourselves through pain? Why do we take on these challenges that that not everyone's cup of tea, but if they are, obviously in the right place. But it just sparked that conversation, especially from this weekend. We were at the Keswick Mountain Festival, which was awesome, Dave. And you came up and said, "And why don't we talk about people's why?"
Yeah, exactly. Because we were at the Keswick Mountain Festival, and it was the first sort of outdoor event that we've done as a group of as a company, and it reminded me when it was there, it was just really interesting that we must have spoke to, well, I know for a fact that we spoke to at least 400 people, because that was what we were counting, 454 but it was probably much more than that even. And it was just great because everybody that came up, and it just brought to my attention like the amount of different reasons that people have for doing these things. I tell you what, Ambrose, for quickly, because I can't read the
glasses. Wow. Your IQ just went up about 40 points, mate. There we go.
Yeah, but it also my eyesight just went up about 40 points. But yeah, no, it was mainly just so all the different people and all their different reasons, they come up and they share a little bit about their story and their history and the reasons why they want to go to sort of Everest or Kilimanjaro or wherever, any of the destinations that we do. And it was really fascinating, I think, people sharing their stories, and no two people would go in there for the same reasons. They all, I want to go on an adventure, but then you say, well, why do you want to go on an adventure? And then when you dig a little bit deeper and you scratch beneath the surface, you find that there are so many different reasons and so many different challenges that people face to get there. It was fascinating. So we thought, why not do a live about why people choose to go on these high altitude treks and why people choose to do what we do, because there are easier ways to spend your time. I mean, that's a fact.
Easier, although as rewarding.
Well, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you could go to, the Maldives and sit on a beach drinking cocktails for 3 weeks.
Which is nice, by the way. I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah, sure it is. I've never been. I've never been to the Maldives, but also and then why would you choose not to go there and to go to Everest Base Camp and be a vegetarian for 3 weeks and sleep in some pretty basic accommodation in -10? And it's
the pain. Yeah, exactly, Dave. No, you hit on some really good points there, mate. And certainly over the weekend we got chatting to heaps of different types of people. Because it's a Keswick Mountain Festival, there's a lot of events going on, a lot of trail runs, some triathlons. There were even some sort of mountain, like 3 Peaks Challenge. There's lots going on, and you kind of get some people who are clearly doing it for, you know, the reward, the medal, you know, the certificate, whatever you call it. Some of them are going for the time. Some of them just like to be there because it's part of something else. Like we caught up with a couple of EverTrekkers who were doing some events. Like we caught up with Abby. I'm not sure she's on the live today, but Abby's using it as her training. Already done base camp with us. And now she's going on to do something else now. So she's using it as training. That's what she was doing that event for at that time. And then you got people, you know, maybe on the flip side who maybe want to do it for other reasons. You know, it's just good to get outside and good to, you know, for the mental side of things, which is, you know, a big one right now, isn't it? You know, in our community, I know a lot of people are talking about this and getting outside. Whilst I'm talking, by the way, do excuse me and Dave if we're a little bit throaty. We've been talking all weekend. So yeah, we're still trying to catch up. Our voice box is still on recovery mode. So yeah, do bear with us, guys, on this one. We only got back yesterday evening, so yeah, still getting into it. But yeah, Dave, right, where should we start then? Because in terms of why, I mean, obviously we focused on a couple of reasons there. I mean, let's talk about us to start with. You know, in terms of why do we do it? Why did you go to Everest Base Camp, for instance? First time?
I think mine was it was a combination of about 2 or 3 things. I think when I was a kid, I had a fascination with climbing Everest anyway. I had no real conception of what Everest was. You know, I just knew it was the biggest mountain in the world, but, you know, I had no idea of what it took to climb it. And then that dream went away and I started to become, you know, just a member of society that, you know, went to work every day, and I did the 9 to 5 and I worked in an office and I did lots of those things. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's all I did. Like there was pretty much nothing else in my life. I had no activities. I didn't do any sports. I didn't do anything challenging whatsoever. And I realized that about 15 years had passed in that bubble. And I really didn't know that much about myself. You know, like was I the type of person that could run a marathon? Or was I the type of person that could cycle 100 miles? Or, you know, or am I the type of person that can never do those things? So really it was a question about myself. You know, what am I capable of? What can I do? You know, and when I was thinking about stuff to do, you know, do I sign up for the London Marathon? Do I just start, you know, do I sign up to a bike ride? And then that all, like that flame in the back of my mind that was there when I was about 8 years old sparked up. And so I had this idea that I would go to Everest, but then again, it still seemed like too extreme for me. My mind was like quite narrow in terms of what I was thinking about. And then I saw that you went there and we used to work together in a bank. And then all of a sudden I was like, well, hang on a minute. Like we did the same job at the same time. And so, yeah, I signed up and I went there, and I was as apprehensive as anyone that goes on these trips for the first time. You know, I had no idea whatsoever what I was capable of, whether I could make Everest Base Camp. And yeah, it was a challenge, and at times it sucked. And it was, you know, it was harder than anything else I ever had to do. But when I came back, like I was like man transformed, you know, like anything was possible. And I think
it does do that to you, Dave, doesn't it? And I'm just reading through the comments here, and you know, I suppose just before, you know, we maybe talk about some of my journey as well. It's interesting to hear, you know, what was everyone's drive, what was everyone's reason, what was your why? You know, there's a couple just off the bat here, just reading about. I mean, it was a couple here actually, people in hospital or ICU. Well, and then you want to, you know, suddenly, I mean, I love that, by the way. You know, you're seeing something like that, and it was your part of your motivation then, by the looks of it, guys, to actually go, right, okay, I'm at a low point now. Where's my target? And I really like that, guys. It's quite inspirational as well. And yeah, comment with your stories. Always good for us to learn from them, because we can all learn. This is what part of the EverTrek community is about, and sharing our experiences. And you know, we can learn about equipment. We can teach you about how to manage altitude. You know, we talk about that stuff a lot, but there's a lot to be said about learning from people's experiences and these kind of things. And I know it seems like a bit of a wishy-washy subject, you know, your why and this and that, but you know, if you've been around me and Dave for any length of time, you know that we're really focused on the brain and the mind in terms of how it works from a motivational perspective, and how important it is on these treks. More important, just as way more important than anything else, really. You know, so yeah, definitely post your stories, guys. It'll be interesting, you know, for us to see it as well.
And it just goes to show as well that you assume after a long time, and you almost fall into this complacent mindset where I used to think everyone was going to Everest Base Camp for pretty much the same reasons that I went. And the further you get away from those reasons, you just become, because I want an adventure, because that's what I do, because I'm a trekker, that's what I am. But actually, just looking at all these different reasons here, there's about 20 different reasons popped up in the comments. I spoke to 400 people with 400 different reasons over the weekend, and it just goes to show that it's an important thing to talk about, because it goes to show that anyone can do these types of trips. Anyone can, because there's no reason like that you can't go. I'm trying to find the words, but it's like, there's so many different people with so many different challenges that they had to overcome, that someone somewhere will read that and think, oh, that's exactly what I went through. Like when I saw that you went to base camp, like someone who was like close to me, who did the same job, who, everything was like pretty much identical in our circumstances. The only difference was that you just went and did it, and I had to see you do it. So talking about this subject on today's live will hopefully make other people see that what other people have gone through. Wow, that person did that. That person had surgery. Wow, that person was whacked out their mind on morphine. I just saw someone say.
Well, no, it's really, mate. Really appreciate everyone being so open as well. In the community. Because I know some of these stories can be quite sensitive. Really appreciate it, guys, and really privileged for you sharing your story as well. Yeah, a lot of awesome stories. Even Joel, in reality, looking for the suitcase full of cash that Stallone threw away at the end of Cliffhanger movie. That is brilliant.
Yeah,
I love that movie, by the way. Love that movie. It's it's wouldn't say it's 100% realistic, but just classic Stallone.
It's a documentary, isn't it? And
it's a documentary. Is that how you climb? Is it with in a vest up an ice wall?
Bare hands in an ice wall, mate. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I think Alex Honnold would have something to say about that.
Yeah.
I love Mark B. Croft. Mark, great to see you on the live just for the adventure, because EBC would be warmer than Scotland.
Yeah.
Certainly, mate. Certainly from
Valid
now
point.
until bloody February, isn't it? It's
less midgies as well. Less midgies.
Less midgies. More smelly toilets, potentially.
Yeah.
But, some really great stories, guys. And so Dave, okay, then. So we go back to you then. So seeing me was kind of the motivation. Then you were like, wow, why haven't I done it? Right? Is that what?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Because I started I realized that I was, overweight, unfit, relatively unhappy and unfulfilled. All of those types of things that people go through when they've worked for a bank for 15 years. And I just decided that I was going to change. And then I started looking for a challenge to kind of like figure out where my limits were, figure out what I was capable of, because I realized I absolutely had no idea, and I always wanted to go to Everest and summit one day and get to base camp and experience the Himalaya. But it's so big, that idea, it's so gigantic that when I used to think about it, it just didn't seem possible. It wasn't a realistic option. And when people say, well, why wasn't it realistic? I haven't got an answer other than, what do you mean, why isn't it realistic? Fly to Kathmandu, go to Nepal, go to Everest. What are you on about? I lived in Milton Keynes at the time, And then one day, I was scrolling through Facebook, and I saw the blog that you wrote on your first attempt, on your first visit to base camp. And I read through the blog, and I caught up, I think, after you'd reached base camp. So I went back to the beginning and read the whole thing. And I was reading this.
Share those again. I haven't.
Still my favorite blog. You say it's a bit rusty and not as well written as your modern ones, but honestly, that's my favorite one.
Yeah, I'll have to. Maybe I'll share it. I started a blog before I even created EverTrek, which was called Welshman Walking, and it's just now been bought by someone else now in terms of the domain. But for me, it was just documenting my journey. And I know a lot of EverTrekkers have done it. Some of them have been fantastic reads over the last few years. When we've been trekking to Everest Base Camp and, climbing Island Peak or going to Kilimanjaro, South America, whatever you've been doing. And it's just good to look back on, isn't it? And I think for me, it was, you realize that, okay, whenever you got a plan, it doesn't always go that way, but it makes for a much better story. And if everyone went to plan, it'd be boring, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean,
I missed a flight. Things happen. That's traveling. That's adventure travel. Yeah?
Didn't you miss your flight because you were writing your blog?
Yes.
Yeah, and
that's I love that. That's a That's a weird one in itself, right? Yeah.
There were so many stories though. Like I like certain things I remember, like the way you described the cold, the fact that you had to run behind toilet rock, you know, and all of these things. But honestly, do you know what? When I was
Yeah.
reading it, the whole thing, I was just thinking like, well, it was a case of, well, if Andy can do it, I can do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Exactly. Yeah.
we were like working the same job a few years ago. You know why? So
Mm.
what's the difference? And then literally that was it. All of a sudden, it just that was the trigger for me. Other people have a different trigger. I think what I used to think was one of my shortfallings was that I never used to dream big and think big. You know, so whenever I thought I want to do a challenge, I'd look just outside my front door. I'd never really look, you know, into the far-flung regions of the world and stuff like that. And when I saw you do it, I just thought, oh, well, I'm going to do it. And then within 12 months, I had done it.
Yeah.
And then when I did it, it was like, what's next?
What's next? Yeah.
Now I can do anything. But I don't understand to this day. Do you know what? If someone asked me, I couldn't give them an answer. So I'll ask you. Why did you go to Everest Base Camp then the first time? Like, why? Because you traveled loads and you've done lots of solo traveling. So why Everest Base Camp?
Well, it's I mean, it's a story that goes back a long time, and you know, essentially it started on the beach in Thailand. And I know there's a lot of EverTrekkers who have been part of the group for a while might have heard this story, but yeah. So I was reading a book called Into Thin Air, which I found from some random, I don't know where it was. It was like a book swap sort of place in one of the local haunts in Koh Tao in Thailand, whilst I was teaching scuba diving. And yeah, just reading that book, kind of thought about it, just sowed the seed for me about going to the Himalayas. And then years later, then when I was working for Lloyd's, which is where we met, Dave.
Yep.
I know you'd left at that point, but I was still there, loving that wonderful job. And yeah, it was one of those where I think I needed a change, and I decided that time, right, I'm going to just go somewhere and I'm going to start travel writing because it was something I really wanted to do. And I just remembered that. Literally looked at lunchtime one day, just Googled Everest Base Camp, found a company, and that evening I booked my flight to go to Everest Base Camp, which I left 2 weeks later. And it was one of those just moments, really. You know, and the deeper thing, and I realized this then, is that it was also for a health reason as well, because I'd struggled with asthma, and you know, I wanted to prove I can get there. That was my reason. And I realized that actually, yeah, I didn't have nothing to worry about. I was fine. My asthma didn't limit me at altitude. In fact, having that having the limitation on the breathing, knowing what that felt like already, maybe gave me a bit of an advantage. I don't know. Mentally, it maybe did. You know, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Fell in love, obviously loved it, which is why we, you know, why we're here. You know, which is amazing. And I think, yeah, just reading through all the comments, I mean, a couple of shout outs as well, because we did meet some awesome EverTrekkers on the weekend. Some of them who traveled a long way to see us. Alan Smith, Andy Smith, lot of Smiths. Yeah, Alan, just great to see you. Come all the way down from Dumfries, wasn't it? All the way down to the lakes. And yeah, it was great. Great to see you finally, mate, after all these years.
Yeah, it was great to finally meet Alan, because I never met him before, and yeah, he's nearly 75, but he's got more energy than I've ever had. Yeah. And he showed me all of these pictures of these ridge walks that he's done all over Scotland, and I'm sitting there thinking, like, my God, like I'm never gonna catch up with this guy. Also, Abby Lawson as well. It was great to catch up with Abby. I met her in Kathmandu back in 2019.
Yeah, Simon Stewart as well, wasn't it? He's caught up with Simon.
Yeah, he did the Three Peaks one on the Sunday, I think, about 18 mile or something like that. So yeah, that was a beast. Caught up with him before and after. No, it was awesome, and it was part of it. It was great. Obviously, it's good for business to go to those things, but you get so much more out of it as well. Like personally, I mean, driving back, yes, first and foremost, I was overwhelmingly tired. But actually, when I got home and I was sitting and chilling and enjoying myself, I just realized, man, it's so great to like connect with people and hear their stories. And it's also very humbling to have people come up and make the journey to come and see you and say hello and stuff like that. Although I was walking across the campsite, and I remember I heard someone say, the painted Yeti and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh god, I gotta be on my best behavior now. Like you gotta.
Can't get away with it now, Dave.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it was like that, wasn't it? We met Ferdinand and his wife, who were coming to Everest with us, and yeah, obviously have moved their trips. I'm just trying to remember everyone we met. It's always difficult, but yeah, it was just great to chat with them, and also new people as well, like people who are right at the start of their journey. We told about the community. No doubt, over the next couple of weeks, we'll see more people enter the community.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of people who were interested, and we did run something a little bit different. We ran a little competition at the event. I think it's only right, Dave, we get on with that and announce the winner of that competition. So basically, we did at the festival. I think we got a few people on the live who were at the festival. We basically with some free kit. So yeah, if you're the winner, we will obviously follow up with an email. And we've done a little bit different this time. We've actually created a little spinny little wheel, which hopefully now you guys know we're amazing at tech, so this should go like no problems here, right, Dave?
Yeah, it's going to be so smooth, mate. I mean, I have a funny feeling what's going to happen now is you're going to hit the button. We're going to hear a loud beeping noise. There's going to be a picture of a young girl holding a doll. Like, remember this? Do you remember that video?
Wow.
Like, it's like a cut screen.
Oh, is that
and it was
BBC?
like yeah, she's like sat on some toy blocks in something holding a doll.
Yeah.
Someone's going to remember it, please. I'm not on acid. Yeah, the saver screen. Yeah.
Acid, Jesus. That's it.
Yeah,
I remember
that's
that.
it. Yeah, that's it. So yeah,
I remember it.
Fee's the only one that gets my references because yeah. But so
Well,
Andy,
right, Dave, I'm going to show it in stream, and then
okay,
we'll see. Right, so we are okay. Now I know it's not the largest wheel in the world, guys. Unfortunately, we can't make that any larger, but I will. Let's have a look. I guarantee you'll be able to see the name. Right, Dave, can you still see that?
Yeah, I can read every name on there, mate. I'm just going to have to add an extra 12 inches to my glasses. Yeah, everyone's accused me. Yeah,
right,
I'll
do the spin-in. Can you see the spin-in?
It spins a lot faster in reality, doesn't it?
It does. It looks a bit spacey on there, but let's have a look. Who's the winner then? Who's the winner? And who is that?
I can't see that. Neil
Stevenson.
Neil Stevenson.
Brilliant.
Congratulations.
Neil Stevenson. Wow, you're gonna need a microscope to read that, Neil. But we will zoom in. I wish we could kind of hide me and you, Dave. But I know if I do that, naturally, it'll probably disappear, right?
Yeah.
Right. So Neil is the winner of the free equipment we did at the Keswick Mountain Festival. So Neil, congratulations.
Yeah.
We'll be dropping you an email right after. Congratulations, Neil. Right. Let's get that little dot out of the way, shall we? Off the screen. Let's hide that, and then we're back, Dave. We're back.
Honestly,
was that seamless?
And I might need a minute because that actually was beautiful. Yeah, well done, Neil Stevenson.
Yes, you got it.
Congratulations,
right,
Neil Stevenson. Yeah, well, I suppose I'll get in touch with you, and then the painstaking and always fun job of doing shopping for £700 worth of trekking equipment for someone else.
I know. No, it was great. We had over. There's a reason you couldn't see the names. We had over 450 people enter that over the weekend.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was crazy. People obviously really interested in coming trekking with us. So yeah, if you did enter that, there will get an email after this as well. With obviously we've got some runner-up prizes in our competitions that we like to offer. Right, Dave. Yeah. Where should we go next? We talked a little bit about people's why.
Yeah.
Obviously we talked a few maybe personal stories there. Just a reminder to everyone: any questions, do drop them in. I know we're talking about people's why and things, but any questions about anything to do with trekking, anything to do with altitude, just drop us a message. Anything to do with Keswick Mountain Festival, even if the question is what weight was the bag. Which Sarah Stringfellow. Sarah, great to meet you, by the way. It was actually 11 kgs. So that was the weight of the bag. So I can't remember what you went for, but let us know.
Yeah, it was really tricky because we could have made it like 20 kilos, or 30 kilos, which would have opened us up to some insurance claims when people tried to pick it up.
I was going to say,
But
you don't want to make it too heavy, right?
being the duffel bag, the weights, and even loads of people were really struggling. We had one, I think we had a guess that was about 2.5 kilos, and we had someone say 19 kilos, and pretty much everything in between. It was crazy. But yeah.
You know what? Something I was thinking, and maybe this is just something me. I was thinking, well, the people who, because we know it's 11 kgs, roughly, I think it was just under, and then someone comes in, lifts it up, and then thinks it's 4.5 kgs, and I thought, wow, they must think they're really strong to think that they can pick up 11 kgs that quickly. And then I was thinking, that's the reason they're going lower. I was just interested with the psychology of that kind of stuff. I don't know what you thought of that.
I now weigh things in Jack Russells. So someone came over and lifted up their Jack Russell and then lifted up the bag, and they were like, "That's about 3 Jack Russells." So now whenever I weigh anything, I weigh about 37 Jack Russells. The van's about 300 Jack Russells. So yeah, I only weigh things in Jack Russells now. It's a much more fun and inclusive way to weigh yourself. Also, I think the weekend was mainly about the dogs for some people.
Really?
Yeah, whenever the dogs would arrive, you could hear Rosie emit what can only be described as like a shriek. Maybe combined.
It was very loud.
Yeah, it was a shriek that ended in a loud squeak. And quite often her arms would go up like this, and she'd go like, and then more than once I saw her like just lying on her side on the ground with a dog. Different dogs all the time.
I know. Yeah, I think I was the other side of the festival and I could hear it.
Yeah. You could, yeah. Like I'd be wandering around like getting like something to eat or something, and I'd hear like, but then I'd be like, oh, Rosie's found a collie. And then there was Digby, wasn't there? Digby the Dalmatian. Dave, don't know what breed he was, but he was a legend.
Dave. Oh yeah, Dave the dog. Yeah.
Yeah, Dave the dog, yeah.
You're a different breed, Dave.
Yeah, I'm a different breed of dog, yeah.
There are some questions actually coming in, which is really good actually. Around, where was it? Oh geez, I've probably lost the questions now. What weight was the bag? Okay, yeah, we answered that one. Even Kim mentioned, now that that would make a tune in. What do you use for weight or height distance comparators?
Yeah,
that's quite an interesting. What do we use as a gauge?
Yeah,
in terms of
well, weight distance. Obviously we've decided is Jack Russell's,
or cats if you're a Mona.
Or cats if you're ammonia, but cats is difficult because it's a much smaller measurement, so the numbers are ultimately much higher. It's like weighing something in grams instead of kilograms, Distance wise, what would be an interesting distance one? Tune out, guys, just make a cup of tea right now. But like distance,
don't tune out on the tune in.
Yeah, what would be a good distance one? Come back to it. We'll come back to you when I have a.
No, off the top of my head, I was thinking with distance. Sometimes if you're into, you can kind of gauge. Okay, I know roughly that how long I can walk in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So if I'm walking for 10 minutes, I know I've gone a certain amount. So that's me gauging, the distance. I'll know, say I can do a mile in 10 minutes or something.
Yeah.
I'm moving quite quickly there. Not as quick as Spud, who is on the live. Douglas Smith is finally on the live.
Sir Edmund Spuddery. Mine, I think I measure distance in swollen knees. So if I get like a mile, that's only about an extra inch or two on the circumference of the knee. 5 miles, that's probably going to be 3 to 4 inches. So all I got to do is measure the circumference of my knee, and I'd be like, yeah, I've walked about 8 miles today. It's the size of a zeppelin.
Brilliant. I'm just reading some here. Well, people, how many Jack Russells can the EverTrek duffel bag hold? In 15 kgs.
15 kgs.
Good
question there, actually. So I would say that it's maybe a good 6 Jack Russells in an EverTrek duffel bag.
You reckon?
Yeah. It depends how sedated they are.
Wow. Brilliant. Distance in yaks from Stuart.
Yeah.
Yeah. I suppose you could gauge that, couldn't you? Because especially when you're Everest Base Camp Trek, and you've got maybe 50 yaks.
Yeah.
Kind of going, you're thinking, okay. And then because you see that every now and again, roughly what sort of distance.
Andy, James, good old Papa Tembo has raised a very good point, which is that your distance calibrator has been broken for some time.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I've often said that if Andy says there's a shortcut down there, your response to that is to run to the nearest National Trust maintained footpath and follow that at all costs.
No, off-piste is fine. But yeah. James, great to see you on the live, mate. I remember your gauge of distance on Lara Groove needs calibration. I'm trying with the distance gauge.
It's always optimistic. And he's
It
like,
is.
I remember when we did what we call the bomber trek in Brecon, and Andy's like, I got this great shortcut for the way back. It was about 5 miles longer than the way there.
Yeah, but it was the scenic route.
It was the scenic route. It just so happened that the weather scuppered you because it was misty and there was no view. But no, it's always fun. It's always an adventure. Andy can turn a trek to the shops into an adventure. So,
Well, it's all about the journey, mate. It's all about the adventure, right?
yeah.
Yeah, Dave. I used to get a 3-mile blister running every time.
It's a good
So
system.
he knew if I get a blister, I've just run 3 miles.
Yeah.
That's a good. I like that. I like that.
Need some new shoes, man.
I was going to say, Dave,
Yeah.
I'd be saying you could probably change that with whatever type of shoes you're wearing. Change the variables.
Joel has asked, can you stroke the yaks and do they sit upon command? They don't do anything by command, and you can stroke them, but if they stroke you back, they tend to do so with their horns quite violently. Do you remember that one time, man, when I got hit by a yak in Tengboche? When I walked towards it, and
when he went like
he like swung his head and like cracked my pole. Yeah, grumpy animals, very grumpy animals. But then I would be if I was carrying that much weight.
Yeah, I think Jerome, just firing Jerome there. When he said Maindel Boutans, I think in response to Dave's blisters. Yeah, Jerome, good recommendation. Recommend them myself.
Yeah.
Although I would treat them treat them. What do you call it, Dave? Waterproof them. Wax them. That's what you call it. I was thinking there. My mind today.
Treats. All right. You were okay. The first one. Yeah. Treating your boots is all right. That they would have understood.
I was on it first time. Okay. I should have trusted my first answer. Yeah. No, it was because me and Dave wore Maindel Boutans on the weekend, and it was very wet grass, and it was clear after about 5 seconds of walking whose was treated and whose hadn't been treated.
Hang on. Before you give away the answer, let's see.
Okay.
Let's see. Well, who do you think treated their boots and who do you think didn't? This would be interesting, and to see what their impressions of us are.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, I mean, clearly.
Yeah, which one of us winged it and which one of us treated them. But yeah, awesome.
So yeah, vote A for Andy or B for Dave.
Yeah, good call. Oh, hang on a minute, I'm B. D for Dave.
All right, D for Dave.
Yeah.
What's your nickname previously? I know we're going right off tangent now. Big D.
It was, yeah, but then
you got into motivating and you went to and then you went trekking, right?
Yeah. It was Big D, yeah, but that related to the size of my waist and nothing else.
And Kim, Andy is I read that as a winger. Yes, I think you are correct.
Yeah.
I didn't treat my boots. And they did get wet, although I didn't feel it. It was the Maindel Boutans are so good, I didn't even feel it, even though they haven't been treated. How good is that?
It's funny, Andy. You're the winger by far. And Joel Palmer said you need your sinus operation. You look clogged up. This is normal for him, Joel. He's had the.
Tell me about it, Joel.
I've never known him not have a sniffle. Like for as long as I've known
waiting
him.
For it. I'm probably 18 months overdue.
Yeah.
But NHS, unfortunately, in waiting lists. But yeah, still waiting for that. Can't wait. What am I going to sound like when I actually had the operation? That's going to be weird.
Oh,
but we'll see.
I don't think you're going to be able to cope with the smells. Andy's not had zero sense of smell for so many years now that, he'll come out of a toilet in Gorrickshap and go, yeah, it was all right, Dave. And then when you walk in, it's like, so I think the world's going to be quite overwhelming.
It is going to be crazy.
Do you think we should do some questions?
Yeah, definitely, Dave. Definitely. I know it's been a bit of a different Tuesday tune-in today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Yeah, go for it, Dave. Where do you want to start?
Oh, okay, so Leah, she's asked a really interesting question that I think everyone wants to know the answer to, which is, how's the knee, Dave? Do you just copy and paste it? I'm sure you do. Yes, okay. Yeah, it's fine. A little bit ropey after the weekend, on my feet for 4 days straight pretty much has rendered it a little bit sort of weak and clicky. It's clicking a bit. But, straight back into the physio, it'll be okay. I've told myself in 2 months' time I'm going to ride a bike. And in 2 months' time, I'll be going to Toupcal as well. So
which one you do? Yeah, you're going to do Toupcal first.
Toupcal first, 100%. Yeah, Toupcal first. Yeah, because I know I'm going to crash. So if I ride the bike before Toupcal, who knows what could happen.
So just reading through the comments, and Rebecca, for a minute, I thought that said swinger. Yeah, that's a different live, that one.
Yeah.
Here we go. So we're actually got some trekking questions now. This is good. Bit off topic, just a random one. On the Island Peak trip, when we land at Lukla, do we stay the night there or start trekking the day we land? Lee, great to see you on the live. Yeah, so we do. When you land at Lukla, we usually meet the rest of the porters. So all the porters actually live up in the mountains. They don't fly up from Kathmandu. As well as that, some of the assistant guides live there as well. Most of the guides come from Kathmandu. And then, so we'll meet the rest of the team. They'll grab the bags, sort of get all that sorted. We'll then head for, a little breakfast, a little cup of coffee, because you arrive at 2,800 meters, and then we got to hike all the way down then to Phakding, which is at 2,600 meters roughly. It takes about 2.5, 3 hours. But before we do that, we just stay in Lukla for about an hour, hour and a half, which is always nice. You can watch the planes come in, and everyone takes their little video. Great little spot. So you don't stay in Lukla. Rare occasion, because we have had historically, I mean, you're talking one in every maybe 100, is that we've had people arrive that late in Lukla, they've had to stay there. But again, very, very rare. I've stayed about an hour outside of Lukla in a place called Sheplung, which has one of the best coffee shops in the whole of the Khumbu, of that region. Amazing. So I was quite lucky in a way. But that was back in 2018. We had lots of bad weather. It was quite challenging. We had to do some helicopters. One of the helicopters couldn't even land at Lukla, had to land 2 hours down. So you had to hike up 2 hours to Lukla from a landing strip that was down the valley, and then hike again. It was going to be a long day, so we decided to stay in Sheplung.
Awesome.
Great coffee. Hope that answers your question, Lee. So yes, you don't stay in Lukla. Short answer.
Awesome. Let's have a quick look here. Christopher Hurst, would you recommend a family trek, EBC or Kilimanjaro? Wife, 2 sons, 16 and 13. So both would be good. I've seen families on both trips. My opinion, which is not necessarily fact, is that EBC would probably be a little bit better, because summit night on Kilimanjaro is pretty intense. It's very, it's a big challenge. Depends on the family, I guess, but Everest Base Camp is very challenging and very, it still offers all the challenges, but it's a more gradual ascent, and it's more like you're traveling from A to B as opposed to climbing one specific mountain. Kilimanjaro, obviously you're there to do one job, and that's reach the summit of Kilimanjaro. So when you've got summit night on, it tends to be sort of like get your head down, and it's a night trek. You're up for over 30 hours. It's at altitude, so it's a really big, awesome challenge. But maybe if I was going there with all my family and stuff like that, I'd want something a little less intense. And you are intense all the way up. So yeah, I would say
Very good, Dave.
Perhaps EBC, but that's just my opinion. Do Kili if you want to as well, but I would say my opinion would be EBC.
Yeah, I think just share my thoughts on it. What would be the best? I mean, there's, if you're looking outside of those two, maybe Machu Picchu could be a good one for families. In terms of the altitude profile, maybe even Tupkal. I mean, I always say it depends on the family, because if we met some families on the weekend, for instance, and their 9-year-old kid was trekking up Helvellyn and out in the weekends, and I reckon that family could easily get up Kili, just because they're just out all the time, so I think it depends on I'd say the kids, in terms of what they're like, because I think just thinking about the challenging parts to all of these, like Dave said, their summit night in Kili, it's tough for anyone, adults, that's hard across the board. So you got to really be thinking, can your kid handle that, and what's that going to be like? So something to think about. With Everest Base Camp, I'd say out of those two would probably be easier. We do see a lot more kids on the Everest route rather than on Kili, so maybe that gives you a little bit of an idea. But I reckon we're having a chat though. If obviously you're thinking about bringing the kids, and Chris, I forgot what trip you booked in now, but yeah, definitely worth a conversation, and we can maybe have a chat about it and see if if we can what trip is best for you.
Yep.
But good question, though. I like that.
Awesome. So Mark Beecroft, not
Hey,
altitude,
Mark.
but would you ever consider a TMB? So I'm assuming that's Tour de Mont Blanc, unless you've saying MTB and it's a little bit of a typo, which would be mountain biking. But yeah, Tour de Mont Blanc, yeah, it's 100% on the radar.
Yes.
You know, it takes a little bit of time for us to kind of develop these trips and build them the EverTrek way. But yeah, 100% on our radar is something we're actively working on. So hopefully before long we will have some TMB trips.
Yeah, it's we had a lot of questions about that the weekend, didn't we? Because I mean, well, it's weird. Something always sticks out. I mean, lovely. It was lovely talking to people about Base Camp and Killy and Island Peak, Mara Peak. There were quite a lot of people who've done even K2 Base Camp. You know, it's a broad range, but two trips came up a lot. Machu Picchu was one. I don't know if it was the type of audience at the festival, and the Mont Blanc, the Tour de Mont Blanc, that came up a lot as well.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously Machu Picchu, as you guys know, we got a really cool route that we go there, you know, via Tomaquea route in South America, in Peru. But yeah, Tour de Mont Blanc is something that we're looking to do, as well as the summit. But yeah, it's been difficult actually finding sort of the kind of team we want to sort of work with. We're still working on that. We'll let you guys know, because obviously we know how popular that is.
Yeah.
You know, we know it's a big one. I remember chatting on the training weekends a few weeks ago. I think some of the EverTrekkers were really wanted to do it. So yeah, guys, as soon as we have that in place and we're able to you know, sort of catch up with the team over there and make sure it's the right fit, then yeah, we'll be doing that 100%.
Yep.
It's a good one. Yeah. Some questions as well. I think it was with, might be from Jerome actually. Might be around Toubkal. Is there an itinerary for? Here we go. Andy, do we have an itinerary for Toubkal in November? Yes, we do. It's the same as all the other ones on the 4 days. I know Jerome will catch up separately about that, just because it's obviously that's a kind of a private trip. But yeah, I'll drop you. I know we need to get you sort of locked in. I've got you on the spreadsheet, mate. Yeah, I just need to get that sorted. But yeah, can't wait to see you there. Right, Dave, what other questions have we got there?
So I've just spotted one interesting question here from Carl Dean. Do you get
Yeah.
water in Lukla, so no need to take on the aircraft? 100%. So Lukla, you like, one of the things that they tell you before they weigh your bags is to remove and pour out any water, any liquids and stuff like that. Every day on the trip, so every morning, every lunchtime, and then every evening, the guides and the team will get you all your fresh drinking water. It's all going to be purified through the filters that we use. And so most mornings there's a little bit of a routine. You have your breakfast, you fill up your water bladder, do the same thing on lunch, and then do the same thing at the end of the day as well. So yeah, no need to worry about water or bring any with you from Kathmandu or anything like that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, worth saving weight. Some people just take a bottle as well, just when you're on the flight if you want. Although you'd probably be enjoying the views rather than drinking water. But you know, if you're trying to keep hydrated, yeah, you can refill in Lukla. No worries. Just seems to be a big conversation going around about toilets and washing hands and opening doors and taking the laptop. Anyway, that's how. Sorry, I just trying to visualize it, and I'm thinking, wow.
Yeah.
Where people are watching the Tuesday tune in from Australia, you know, Hawaii, and whilst on the toilet. Great. Yeah.
Awesome.
Brilliant.
Marvelous. So Rachel Kempson has asked a cool question. Favorite trek thus far, Andy?
Ooh. Altitude, yeah.
Yeah.
Everest Base Camp.
Yeah.
Not by a mile. I'd say very close to Killy. But yeah, I think it's because I think I got asked this question on the weekend, and I think I'd say the same answer is that's because the journey started there. I have this emotional attachment to it. And just the first time I went to Everest Base Camp, where how remote it is, and seeing the people there and how they live and the Sherpa culture. Kathmandu, getting blown away by like the craziness of it, but then you love it. Tamil, when you walk through Tamil and you've got like hundreds and not hundreds of trekking gear shops. Then you've got a coffee. Then you've got an Irish bar. I mean, coffee then a Guinness. What more
Yeah.
do you want?
Awesome.
Yeah, I think 100%. I love Killy. Don't get me wrong. I it was brilliant. It was the last kind of big thing we did because of COVID. So again, we've got a lot of emotional attachments to that. But yeah, Everest Base Camp for me.
Yeah.
Dave, what did you say? Did you say Everest?
Uh,
What would
yeah,
you do?
yeah. I'm really it's almost 50-50, but Everest Base Camp for me because it was the first trip I ever did. First time I got to see Everest.
Yeah.
I fell in love with Nepal and the Nepalese people and their culture and everything about the place. I absolutely love. And you've only got to look at it that I've been to Nepal about 7 times, and I've trekked there like 4 times, so or 4 or 5 times. So we were going to go in May, but we got shut down because of the red list. So it's one of those places. I think under normal circumstances, I'll go at least once a year, no matter whether I'm trekking or visiting or doing anything. It's got to be Nepal for me. But having said that, I love Africa as well. And once you go to Africa, it kind of gets under your skin a little bit. And
yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Africa is so diverse and so different and so it's high energy, when you go there and the African people and singing and the dancing and how friendly everyone is. So yeah, it is a very close second. I think it's whichever one I would have done first would have probably ended up being my favorite, and that happened to be Nepal.
Yeah, it's sometimes it just sort of adds weight to it, doesn't it? But Killy is amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, Nepal, special place, Nepal.
Yeah.
I think if you go there, there's so much more than just the trekking,
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely awesome. Yeah, I hope that answered your question. Good question.
Yeah.
Just seen Stephen Smurthwaite. Steve, great to see you on here, mate. 3 years ago, you're on Triglav in Slovenia. You know what? I remember when you posted about that. It doesn't feel like it's 3 years ago. Just to say, yeah. But you, I know you did some Via Ferrata there, didn't you? We've actually we've been sourcing a good company in Slovenia, actually. Very close to sorting that out, Dave, aren't you? I know that.
Yeah. So I'm technically off work this week, but next week I'll probably be putting the finishing touches on that one and getting it all ready. So not long after that, we'll be doing some adventures in Slovenia and Triglav and
that's on the green list, right?
exactly. So it just makes travel a little bit easier.
Yeah.
But yeah, awesome. Can't wait for that one.
I think I don't know, it might have been Diane actually, or just around I think this year, I think you mentioned about November. Sorry, Diane, I'm just trying to. Yeah, here we go. Do you think this season is more likely to be cancelled now, apart from Toubkal? I think I've decided to move treks. Yeah, it's certainly. I mean, we've kind of rescheduled up until the end of October now. We've kind of got in touch with everyone around that in the red list countries. So yeah, Nepal, Tanzania. We haven't done that with November yet. Obviously, we're not a million miles away from it, are we? And we are sort of recommending rescheduling just because it's the red list isn't changing. And I know it's every 3 weeks, so we're kind of waiting. So if you do want to reschedule, completely understand. Goes to everyone really.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's certainly it's still crazy to think that we're still here and still talking about it. Whilst obviously some of the things we've looked at are the other areas that we could potentially run trips over the next few months, which is why we looked at places like Triglav in Slovenia. Looked at other places as well. Nothing we can kind of discuss as of yet, because we don't want to put too much out there. But we're really excited. I mean, when we do start, it's going to be great. I mean, even just this weekend, I know we've run training weekends. We've had some, Snowdonia Explorer up in in North Wales. We had Kim who went to Toubkal. This really is just the start of it again, really. We're as excited as anyone, but we excited, but realize it's super frustrating at the moment with certain countries.
Yeah.
But it won't be long, guys. We'll be out there trekking and having an awesome time and realizing why, which we go back to what we started at the beginning, why we do these things. I think they'll be more enjoyable because of the wait we've now had.
Yeah.
I know, like this weekend, seeing people and engaging, it's probably way more enjoyable, Dave, wasn't it? Because we haven't had this opportunity over the last 18 months.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's been so much sort of, like COVID has been such a sort of game changer. It's probably going to be part of the fabric of society for decades, to be fair. But I think at least, this whole we've had to do the right thing and stay apart from each other and do all of that, necessary stuff. But you forget that, what we took for granted was all of those human connections that were part of our fabric, and we missed out on that. And then when we got it back, you brought it home in stark contrast. Well, actually, this is amazing. Meeting like-minded people, and the energy that you get from being around other people is just, you feed off it, and it's brilliant. And I think you could see that, just the energy of the whole weekend and the people that we spoke to. And I think it just reminded me that it is important to get out there and do stuff. Leads us on to another question I saw, which is pretty cool, which was from Joel. What's on our bucket list to hike? Not a summit.
Nice.
So
I got some good ones there. For me, Dave, sorry to jump in. I've always wanted to walk the El Camino in northern Spain. That's definitely, it takes about a month. But that walks all the way from the Pyrenees all the way over to the Atlantic Ocean, literally north of Portugal. I've always wanted to do that. El Camino, I think, which is Spanish for the way, isn't it? But it's like an old pilgrimage route. I don't know. The first time I went to base camp, I took my laptop. I also downloaded a couple of movies, and one of them was called The Way. And it was brilliant. Absolutely loved it. And it gave me the idea. And I was like, that just looks amazing. Yeah, I'd love to do that. Amongst many other things. Dave?
There's probably 3 on mine, but I can't remember the name of one of them. I know it's a trek through the jungle from Mexico into America, but I'll find that out.
Oh, really?
But there was a podcast from Outside. Outside Online, their podcast, where they talked about it, and I think it's like an old smuggling route that goes through the jungle. But no, mine would have to be K2 Base Camp, which I will be ticking off relatively soon. And then I would love to trek the Amazon.
Oh, wow.
I know that's a bit of a beastie one. I don't know if that'll ever happen. But ever since I read that book from I've forgotten his name now. He has the TV show, where he gets stranded on an island. I can't believe I've forgotten his name. But anyway, he was the first person to trek the length of the Amazon. And I read that book, and it just sounded like awesome and amazing, and the cultures and the danger, and obviously so many things that can go wrong. I mean, that's again going back to why and finding your limits and stuff like that. So I remember when I thought that Everest Base Camp would be impossible, and then I did it, and it expands your mind. So I quite like to think now, okay, what would I consider impossible now that I would still be willing to give a go? And I think the length of the Amazon would be for me.
It'd be a challenge, wouldn't it? And I know we're off the topic of altitude, but
Ed Stafford,
brilliant. He does a lot of inspirational speaking, actually. I feel like I connected with him on LinkedIn. He's a really really cool guy. I'd have to try and get him on the podcast.
Yeah, so thanks, Dave. Thanks someone else that gave me his name as well, James Ashley.
Ashley, Oh, of course, James knows. He knows everything. James, a few comments about your your frozen beard pic this weekend, mate. You were on our gazebo. We put a couple of screenshots of some Instagram posts from our on our EverTrek page, and you were on there, mate. You had some big thumbs up. Brilliant. Another one. The Kingsleden, which is the King's Trail in Sweden. I've always wanted to do that, and you can do it. Obviously, it's quite long, but I think you can do it in like a week. No, sorry, longer than that, 2 weeks. But there's sections. Can't wait to do that. When we're allowed to travel again, certainly. So a month doing El Camino, and then off for a couple of weeks and doing Sweden. That'll be cool, wouldn't it?
Awesome.
Another one. Sorry, just ideas now, Dave. I've always wanted to hike across Iceland.
Oh, that'd be stunning,
wouldn't it? And we're actually quite close. I'm in the research of doing that. We'd like to run some trips over in Iceland. And again, I know it's not altitude; it's more trekking, but it's something that with the way the landscape is, it's really, really good. Kind of practice, if you like, for the altitude stuff. I forgot the name of the trail. I think it's called the Lónavanda Trail, something like that. And it goes all the way across Iceland. I love to do it. I think it takes about several days. We'll hit you up with any details around that, definitely, because something I've always wanted to do. Cross Iceland, like the Vikings did all those years ago.
Yep.
Who did that the other day? Was it Sean Conway? I I'm not sure. I'm not sure with Sean. I think he's the guy that I think he did 15 marathons and 15 different places. I think I can't remember. He was
No,
speaking actually.
he did
Dave, you follow
the
him?
yeah, Sean Conway. I followed him because I liked his long distance adventure cycling.
Yeah.
But he's the guy that the first person did like a length of Britain triathlon. So he ran Land's End, John O'Groats, and then he swam it, and then he cycled it. I've just done a bit of googling. The Darien Gap was the one that I was thinking about. I think that's how you pronounce it. The Darien Gap is that one in South America that I was thinking about.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be another one that I'd like to do.
Nice. So much to do, guys, isn't it? When we're, it's like you can tell we've all been locked up for such a long time. We just want to go, get me out of there.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go and let's get out there. And yeah, we can't wait. We're the same as you. You know, we're trekkers and travelers and adventurers like you guys. And yeah, we can't wait to get out. I feel like we're all like uncoiled springs. You know, all that kind of pent up energy, and we're not far away from being able to get out there and do it.
Yeah, exactly.
But right, yeah. It's been a really good Tuesday tune-in. It's been quite interesting. A lot of not necessarily answering like those obvious questions, but I think sometimes just talking about a certain subject can spark different conversations. And
yeah,
thanks to everyone today, because it's great. It's a lot of we've had a lot of income in this way, which is great. Like a lot of you have put your stories and your why. A lot of you are talk about maybe things that you want to do on your bucket list, and yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
No, I can't do that. I can't stop at spending my money.
Yeah.
Sorry. Hey, we can guide you, and yeah, I appreciate that. Obviously, it comes with a cost, but yeah, it's all about the memories, mate. All about the
awesome.
memories. Nice, Dave. Dave, any kind of final thoughts, mate, before we finish today?
Yeah, Jerome has replied and said the Darien Gap is classed as the most dangerous jungle in the world. Very difficult. Well, that's why I want to try it. I mean, you can't be afraid of these things. But yeah, exactly. No, I think it's just great to hear the long list of people's whys, and I love it when we go a little bit off topic as well, and we can discuss all these other little bits. Yeah, it's been a great one. I've excited. I'm gonna go and have my day off now.
Yeah, Dave, really appreciate you coming in today.
Mate, I'll never miss one. Like I said,
even on your week off, fair dues. You want to do the Tuesday tune-ins?
I've never missed a scheduled one, mate. I'll have to be dead before I miss one.
Wow, this
maybe in the Darien Gap.
Brilliant. Well, hey guys, look, I hope you've enjoyed today. Yeah, we'll be back next week. Any questions or anything at all, do drop us a message. Obviously, if you did meet us at the festival, it was great to meet you. And you're keen to get on a trip, obviously we'd love to have you as part of the EverTrek community, and work towards some of these adventures we're talking about today. And yeah, we'll see you next Tuesday, guys.
Awesome. Take it easy.
Cheers.